How does a man of war really float? The Portuguese man of war is truly a sight to behold, isn't it? It's often called a jellyfish, and you'll see that term used frequently. But it's actually something much more complex, a siphonophore. Imagine a colony of tiny individual organisms working together as one amazing unit. Each little creature in this floating raft has its own specialized job, from capturing food to reproducing. What truly sets the man of war apart is its incredible ability to float effortlessly on the ocean currents. That distinctive gas-filled bladder acts like a balloon, keeping the entire colony suspended above the water's surface, a remarkable adaptation for drifting across vast distances. Most jellyfish propel themselves through the water by rhythmically contracting their bell, a surprisingly tiring process. But the Portuguese man of war operates differently. It's not actually a true jellyfish, and its method of movement is incredibly unique. Instead of relying on muscular contractions, this fascinating creature drifts effortlessly across the ocean's surface. This remarkable ability stems from its pneumatophore, a large, gas-filled bladder that acts like a buoyant sail, catching the prevailing winds and currents to carry it along. Think of it as a living hot air balloon, gently floating through the water. That remarkable float, the pneumatophore, isn't simply filled with air. It's actually a carefully crafted internal balloon, primarily composed of oxygen and carbon dioxide gases, produced by the man of war itself. This incredible feat is thanks to symbiotic algae living within its tissues. These tiny organisms perform photosynthesis just like plants do, converting sunlight into energy. As a byproduct, they release both oxygen and carbon dioxide, which are then trapped inside the pneumatophore, keeping it buoyant and allowing the jellyfish to drift effortlessly on ocean currents. It's a truly remarkable example of partnership in nature. The shape of that gas-filled bladder isn't just for buoyancy, it's a remarkably clever adaptation for dispersal. You might expect a perfect sphere to float best, but the man of war's bladder is far from it. Instead, it's an irregular, balloon-like form, almost like a misshapen thumb sticking out, and that's key to its incredible travel abilities. This unique shape allows it to really catch those subtle wind currents drifting across the ocean surface. These jellyfish are often referred to as sailors' thumbs because of this very characteristic. They essentially use the wind as their sails, enabling them to drift vast distances. It's an impressive feat of natural engineering, keeping that gas-filled float, or pneumatophore, aloft. Is it as simple as just filling it with air and hoping for the best? The man of war is constantly adjusting its buoyancy, actively managing how much gas is inside. It's a remarkable feat of biological engineering. This regulation happens through diffusion, essentially, gases moving across the jellyfish's membrane. They are letting some gas out and taking in others to maintain that perfect balance, ensuring it stays at the right depth in the water column. Think of it like a tiny, underwater balloonist, carefully adjusting their weight. The man of war's iconic float isn't just magic, it's physics in action. The gas-filled bladder needs to be lighter than the surrounding seawater for it to actually rise and stay afloat. Think of it like a hot air balloon. If the air inside is denser than the outside, it will sink. Because of this crucial relationship, Environmental factors play an enormous role in how well the man of war can maintain its position in the water column. Water temperature is particularly important. Warmer water generally holds less dissolved gas, which can make it harder for the bladder to remain buoyant. Conversely, colder temperatures can increase the amount of gas the water can hold, potentially making the float too heavy and causing it to descend. Even slight changes in salinity, another key property of seawater, influence density and therefore affect buoyancy. The pneumatophore, that beautiful gas-filled bubble keeping the man of war afloat, is surprisingly vulnerable. Powerful storms can easily tear into it, puncturing the air sac and causing the jellyfish to slowly sink. Similarly, larger marine animals sometimes target this buoyant structure as part of a feeding strategy. Damage, even seemingly minor, compromises its ability to stay near the surface where sunlight penetrates and food drifts. A sinking man of war loses access to these vital resources, significantly diminishing its chances of survival and successful hunting. The pneumatophore, that incredible gas-filled bubble at the top of a man of war, isn't a uniform size. It's actually quite variable. You can see huge differences between individuals depending on their age and what conditions they've experienced. Younger jellyfish tend to have smaller pneumatophores, which keeps them closer to the surface, but not necessarily right at the top. As they mature and grow, they often inflate this bubble significantly. Interestingly, a larger pneumatophore allows the man of war to float higher in the water column, essentially acting like a natural buoy, lifting it towards sunlight and potentially exposing it to more prey. It's fascinating to realize that this buoyancy isn't just a simple float. The gas inside the pneumatophore, or bladder, isn't evenly distributed. You see subtle pockets of denser and less dense gas forming within it. These variations create what we call internal pressure gradients. Imagine tiny areas with slightly more or less pressure than their neighbors. This unevenness allows the jellyfish to subtly steer its course. It's like a natural sail, using these pressure differences to influence its drift direction based on prevailing currents and even slight changes in water density. The man of war isn't simply at the mercy of the ocean. It uses its own anatomy to navigate with surprising finesse. The way a Portuguese man of war drifts isn't random, it's a brilliantly effective strategy for survival. Unlike true jellyfish, which actively swim, these siphonophores rely entirely on ocean currents to move. This allows them to cover vast distances, sometimes thousands of miles, dispersing their colonies far and wide. Imagine an underwater dandelion seed head scattering its offspring across the sea. This incredible mobility means they can access a much wider range of food sources than if they were confined to a single area. They're opportunistic feeders, capitalizing on whatever drifts into their path, from small fish to plankton. It's truly remarkable how this seemingly passive drifting enables such successful colonization and feeding.